The Curse of U-190, a hauntingly hilarious tragedy from World of Warships podcast by Lynn and Dave. Dave told AI write a comedy about the German U-190 and how it cursed her crew with bad luck. One crew member slipped on a banana peel. The captain lost his mind. Each crew member had something bad happen. Some say the ship was haunted. Make the story a scary comedy, very funny, yet at other times a tragedy and a tearjerker. The Curse of U-190, a hauntingly hilarious tragedy. It was said that the German U-190 was cursed from the moment her keel touched the water. Some whispered that the shipyard foreman spilled his beer on the plans, while others claimed a black cat had been spotted napping in the torpedo tubes before launch. Whatever the cause, it was clear U-190 was not your ordinary submarine. The maiden voyage. The misfortune began on her maiden voyage. The crew gathered for a ceremonial toast as they prepared to dive. As the captain Klaus, Iron Mustache von Schnitzel, raised his glass, the chief engineer Wilhelm tripped over a toolbox, spilling diesel fuel everywhere. "Ack, it's fine," Klaus said, laughing nervously. "What's a little slippery floor, eh?" Moments later, Wilhelm found himself sliding across the engine room like a sill on ice, finally crashing into the bulkhead. His wrench landed squarely in the ventilation system, which promptly broke. From then on, the sub smelled like cabbage and regret. The banana peel incident. 2 weeks into the cursed journey, young seaman Dieter brought aboard a stash of bananas. He thought it might lift morale, but instead it unleashed chaos. One rogue pill found its way to the control room floor where the first mate, Hans, stepped on it during an emergency dive drill. His legs went out from under him and he did a perfect pirouette before slamming into the periscope. "I've broken my dignity," he wailed. "Your dignity," bellowed Captain Klaus, rubbing his temples. "I think you've broken the periscope." Sure enough, the periscope was stuck pointing directly at the sub's own deck gun. From that moment on, every time they scanned the horizon, all they saw was their own incompetence staring back at them. Captain Klaus loses his mind. The captain, already a man of questionable stability, began to unravel. "This is no ordinary bad luck," he muttered to himself, pacing the deck in his socks and forgetting the golden rule of submarines. Never wear socks on a wet floor. Predictably, he slipped crashing into the navigation table. When he stood up, he was convinced the ship was haunted. "It's the ghost of Admiral Wilhelm von Donut," he declared. "He's angry if he used the budget on schnitzel instead of torpedoes." From then on, Klaus wore a colander on his head to ward off spirits. It didn't work, but it made him look ridiculous enough that even the ghost, if it existed, might have laughed. The crew's misfortunes. Every crew member had their own misadventure. Carl the cook accidentally spilled salt in the soup and spent the rest of the voyage trying to appease the vengeful sea spirit of salinity with offerings of pickled herring. Franz, the radio operator, got his headphones tangled around his neck during a Morse code emergency, causing the captain to believe he was being strangled by invisible hands. Gunther the gunner managed to fire a practice shot that ricocheted off the water and hit their own conning tower. A direct hit, Gunther cheered, not realizing it was their own ship. The haunted moment. One dark and stormy night, as U-190 drifted in the Atlantic, the crew heard strange sounds echoing through the hull. It was a low moan, like the well of a torpedo that never got its chance to explode. Lights flickered, the smell of sauerkraut grew stronger, and Captain Klaus screamed, "It's Von Donut, he's here!" Terrified, the crew huddled together in the galley, clutching spoons and saucepans as weapons. Suddenly a figure appeared, a shadowy, glowing form. The men screamed in terror until they realized it was just Carl, accidentally setting his apron on fire while trying to make flambe. The tearjerker ending. Despite the comedy of errors, the crew began to bond over their shared misery. They laughed at their ridiculous captain, helped Wilhelm fix the ventilation, and even forgave Dieter for the banana debacle. But the U-190's curse wasn't done. In their final battle, a malfunction caused the sub to surface directly in front of an enemy destroyer. As the crew abandoned ship, Captain Klaus saluted. "Go, my friends, save yourselves. I will stay and face Von Donut. Perhaps this is how I redeem myself." As the U-190 sank beneath the waves, the crew watched for a lifeboat, tears streaming down their faces, not from sorrow, but because Gunther had somehow managed to spill mustard gas rations while climbing aboard. The legend of U-190 lived on, though, in equal parts as a comedy, tragedy, and cautionary tale. They say her ghost still roams the seas, causing submarines to miss torpedoes and captains to lose their sanity. And if you listen closely on a quiet night, you might hear the faint sound of a banana peel slipping, followed by the roar of laughter echoing from the depths.